And we were speaking about earlier in the Maimer to explain, we're still explaining the question of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimer on why it says, Ato echad ושמך echad, ומי כעמך כי ישראל גוי echad ba'aretz, that the Frierdiker Rebbe asks, why does it use the term echad and not yachid? Because we are not comparable to anything else, and the Eibishter is definitely not comparable to anything else. So the question was originally that Rebbe asked, why does he have to bring in about to bolster that question by bringing in the idea that the love of a parent to an only child, or the love of an only child to a parent, is so much greater than the love to a parent that he has for a child when he has many children, and the love of a child to a parent when he has siblings. So we had the question that I've asked the question, what does this help in understanding more, and what does this add to the question about Yachid versus Echad, that he should have used the term that Ata Yachid, ושמך Yachid, etc. So to explain that, he said that Echad could still refer to the level of Hashem, the way he's connected with the world. And over there, the word Echad applies. Like we say, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The same thing when we're dealing with the level of the Yidden, the way they are involved in the world. Go Yechad Ba'aretz. So the way they are in Aretz, over there, also the comparative level of Echad, that Echad Hamonui, that one can be counted even though it's distinct, is applicable. Therefore, he has to bring in the idea about the special love, and the love of Hashem to the Yidden, and the love of Yidden to Hashem is something that transcends any type of connection, comparison to anything else in the world. So therefore, that bolsters the question, why does the Nusach and Davening say, Ato Echad, and Yisrael is Goy Echad Baretz? It should have said, Ata Yachid, and the Goyach and the Yidden are Goy Yachid Baretz. So now the Rebbe is going to elaborate further, and we're still within the question of the Maimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe, about this love. What does it mean that the love of a Hashem to the Yidden is like the love of a parent to an only child? And similarly, the love of the Yidden to Hashem is like the love of an only child to a parent. And how is that different? Just to understand it, even in the physical sense, of the love of a parent to a child that's one of many. So again, we're holding the fifth page Tes, line 14, Ois Dalet. This idea of why we use the question about why it should have said Ata Yachid, should have said Go Yachid Ba'aretz, by first prefacing the explanation in the idea that the love of parents to their children, when they have more than one child, is not as great of a love like the love of parents for an only child. And so too, the love of an only child to his parents is greater than the love of children to their parents when their parents have more than one child, when they have siblings. So the Rebbe asks a simple question. Seemingly, there should be no difference in the love. He says, L'chura, seemingly, also concerning the love of parents to their children. It's not shaykh to say, it doesn't make sense to say that when they have many children, so now somehow their love becomes decreased. Does it minimize? They had one child, so they used up all their love on this child. Now that they have more children, so I can't give 100%, just like I can't give 100% of a pie to one person if I have to give it to more people. So the 100% of my love I can't give to one child. I have to now spread it around. And if I have 2 children, I give only 50% of my love to each child. If I have 3 children, it's only 1/3 of my love. So this doesn't make any sense. Are there then borders in the internal organs of a person to say that he only has a certain amount of love, and as soon as you start distributing it, it gets smaller and smaller? This is in general concerning love and inner character types of traits. How much more so concerning the love of, this is true about the parent to the children. How much more so with the love of a child to his parents. Since every single child, even if he has 10 siblings, he has 15 siblings, he is one in his own feeling. He doesn't have a concept of I am a part of many. Therefore, the fact that he has other siblings, brothers that love his parents, this is seemingly not a reason and a cause that because he has more siblings, so now his love becomes minimized. In his own feeling, I am my father's child. What does it make a difference about everybody else? So what is that whole idea that the Friedrich Rebbe presents, that the love of parents and an only child is different than the love that they would have to him if he would be part of a group, and the love of an only child towards parents is greater than if he would be part of a bigger family? So the Rebbe explains 28 in line 28. We say the explanation. This is according to what it's known, all matters down here below have a root and a source above. According to this, we could say, top of page Yud, the root of the love of parents to their children, who avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, is the love of Hashem to Yidden, shehem bonim LaKadosh Baruch Hu, that these are children to Hashem. That is the source. Everything in this physical world comes from that spiritual corresponding level. It wasn't that, like some people think, Hashem loves us, yes, and then there's the love of a parent to a child. The fact that there is a love for a parent of a child down here is nishtalshel, came by Seder Nishtalshel from the fact that Hashem loves us in such a way that so much more powerfully, but in a corresponding way of a parent to a child. And the reason why a parent loves a child down here is because it came from the love of Hashem to us. And the same thing with Shoresh Avos Ben Lahoidov, and also the root of the fact that a simple situation where a child loves their parents, what is the root for that in the spiritual realms? Avos Yisrael Avinu Shebeshamayim is the love of Yidden to our Father in heaven. Therefore, since Yidden are an only child to the only one of the world, to Hashem, therefore, the essential love of a father and a child down here below, both in both directions, the love of a father to his child and the love of a child to his father, that's derived from the essential love of Hashem and the Yidden. Again, in both directions, Avos HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, the love of Hashem to the Yidden, and also the essential love of Avos Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Yidden have for Hashem. He be'ikir be'en yachid is primarily by an only child. Because we are in actuality an only child to Hashem, and Hashem is an only Hashem. So therefore, the channel, the most corresponding level in this world for the love of a parent to a child and a child to a parent, to the divine love of Hashem and us in both directions, is when there is an only child down here in the physical world. There's no, in other words, the Rebbe is saying it's not a logical thing. It's because that is where the source of it is Baruchnis. And then the Rebbe adds another, nuance to this in the parentheses, line 9. Umetam zeh, klolos hava atzmi shel hoirim lebenom shel v'shel ben lahoirav. The general love of the essence of parents to their children, and to a child to their parents, who be Yisrael Yosir Mebumas Ha'olam. That love is also to be found more by Yidden than the nations of the world. Just like we said, that the love of a parent to a child and a child to a parent is found more when there's an only child, because that reflects the relationship between us and Hashem. So similarly, even the love of parents to children and children to parents are also more so by the Jewish people, the essential love, the love of the essence, than it is by the nations of the world. Why? Because again, it's a reflective of the Jewish people's relationship with Hashem. L'ficha shoydish avazum, he avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael v'avas Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because the root of the love between parents and children and parents is the love of Hashem to the Yidden and the love of Yidden to Hashem. So therefore, it lends itself that the Yidden would have more of a connection with this essential type of love. So now we can understand clearer the question and the association of it should have said Go Yachid Baris, line 14. According to this, we can add in the explanation of the metaphor that the Frierdiker Rebbe brings in his Maimer of the only child, and the fact that he should have said an only nation instead of Goy Echad, which he says he should have said Goy Yachid. The fact that Yidden are the only child of Hashem. This is different. The way Yidden are the only child of Hashem. It's distinct and different than an only child down here below. Because when a person down here has an only child, it's still possible. It doesn't rule out the fact that he can have more children. So a person can start off being an only child, and then Hashem benches his parents, and all of a sudden he's not an only child. But by Yidden, it's not that way. It goes beyond that relationship that allows for potentially them losing the status of an only child. By Yidden, it's not that way. It's not possible that Hashem should have more children. How come? The fact that Yidden are considered children of Hashem, they are rooted in Hashem's very essence. Similar to a child down here below, that's rooted in the very essence of the Father. But when you talk about Hashem's essence, there's only, if you will, place and room for one entity, the Yidden. Over there, In Hashem's essence, there's no allowance for any other existence. Yisrael u'malcha b'chudoi kanasiv gimel, that Yidden and the king are all alone when we're talking about Hashem's essence, like we said earlier in Ois Gimel. So now, v'kiven shagam b'yotzim lamata ba'aretz, since even when Yidden are down here below on the earth, avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael ki avas ha'av l'ben yachid, the love of Hashem to the Yidden is still like the love of a father to an only child. It doesn't all of a sudden become that he's a child amongst other children. And similarly, the other way as well, for sure, and the love of Yidden to Hashem is like the love of an only child to his father. Through this relationship of being like an only child, Nikr Bahem Begilui, it's openly recognized in them. Shagam B'Yoisem Lamata Baretz, top of page Yud Aleph, even while being down here in the earth, they're bound up with their root in Hashem's very essence. And that is why over there in Hashem's essence, there's no room for any other existence. Even not even the existence of Malachim and similar. How much more so there's no room for the nations of the world. Therefore, the Rebbe concludes in explaining the question of the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimer, therefore it's seemingly not applicable to count them along with the nations. And to say about the Jewish people that they are a goy echad, which the word echad means that it's possible, it allows for itself to be counted, like the first day of creation was called Yom Echad. They should have said instead, the only nation, because that is the true relationship that's expressed in the love of a Yid to Hashem, and in the love of Hashem to Yid. So up till now, this was all an explanation of the question in the Maimer of the Friedrich Rebbe that the Rebbe is explaining. Now, the Rebbe is going to start proceeding to answering why indeed does the Nusach say Ata Echad and Goy Echad Ba'aretz and not use the term Yachid. Ois Hey, line 8. The reason why in all three matters, it says Ata, it says Echad. By Shimcha, your name, it also says Echad. And Michamcha ki Yisrael, it also says Goy Echad Ba'aretz, it also says Echad and not Yachid. The Maimer is explained by prefacing the difference between the idea of light and name. Lights, as will be explained, the light's relationship with the luminary, the source where the light comes from, and the name's relationship with the person that is called by its name. Each one of them has an advantage over the other in its connection to their source and what they are connected to. The advantage and quality of light over name is concerned in the revelation. The idea of light, it reveals the luminary. That's the whole point of the light. The light emanates from the luminary, so we see the sun because we see the sunlight. But a name does not reveal the one who's called by the name. For example, the name of a person. The fact that you know he's called Yitzchak or he's called Chaim. You don't know anything about him. Many people are called by the same name, though they are completely dissimilar to each other, not intellectually, not character-wise. But through the light, one knows the luminary. So that's the advantage of light over name, that the light reveals to us the luminary. But the advantage and quality of a name is it draws down the essence. When we call a person by his name, He turns to the one that calls him with his entire being. The Adam is Aleph, even when a person is unconscious, he faints through calling him by his name. He awakens from his state of being unconscious. How come? Why does the name have that capability? Because the reason why the person is in a state where they are unconscious is because the revealed part of the soul is not manifest in the body. What's called the hispashtus achayis. But ki idea kriya b'shmoi mamshichim as etzem achayis shalamayla mispashtus achayis. By calling someone by their name, we are drawing down the essence of the person's vitality and life that is higher than the expansion of the name. So even though the expansion of the life, so even though the expansion of his life, the revelation of the person's vitality is for whatever reason concealed when he's in a state of unconsciousness, but the name draws down the essence. That's the advantage of the name over the light. The light does not draw down the essence, which is the luminary. It doesn't draw it down, it just reveals it. But it's not that it's going to pull it to us. But the name draws down the essence. When you call someone, they turn to you. When a person's in a faint, they wake up from their faint, etc., etc. Now, the Rebbe is going to analyze what the Frierdiker Rebbe said about the name's relationship to the essence versus the light relationship to the luminary. So the Rebbe is going to finally divide in the source of light that there's two aspects and two components. There's the luminary and there's the essence that's beyond what it is to be a luminary at all. Line 27. Shloimer, we could say the Masha Kosav Ba'mayim. Sha'or Einem Mamshech Sa'etzem Hainu Amor. What it says in the Maimon that the light does not draw down the essence, which is talking about the luminary. Hakavona Bezehi. The meaning of this is Ki Ba'etzem Shemenu Nimshech Ha'or Shnei Inyonim. In the essence from which the light is drawn down from, there are two aspects. Two components. One aspect is the luminary, which is the source for the light. The Inyan Sheni, a second aspect, ha'etzem mamish, the very essence itself, shalamaylu beyond the luminary. The Zesha Nikr B'Shem Mar, top of page Yud Beis, the fact that it's called a luminary, is because of the action of illumination. Because the light is what's coming from it, so we call it a ma'or, a luminary. But the very essence itself is removed from even the idea of light. It's even removed from the idea of being a luminary from which the light comes from. And therefore, the Rebbe extends that to the connection of the name with the essence versus the light's disconnect. It says we could say the difference between the root of the light and the root of the name is the root of the light is only in the luminary, not in the very essence. But the root of the name is in the very essence itself. That is the very reason why we said in the beginning of this part that the light is the revelation and the name doesn't reveal anything. It's concealed. Since Ma'or, luminary, is about illuminating, which means expanding and revealing, so therefore the light shares that characteristic and illuminates and reveals. The essence, which is the root of name, is completely removed from the idea of light, which is expansiveness and revelation. Therefore, the essence can only be touched by something that is dark, or the other way around. The name is dark and concealed because it's coming from a place that's beyond revelation. Let's just finish the ois. Well, according to this, we can explain what it says in the Maimer. The light does not draw down the essence, which is the luminary. Why does he have to add, which is the luminary? We know where the light comes from. Why add the words Hainu Amoir? That the intention was the only essence that the light has a connection with is not the essence itself. It's only the luminary. And despite only having to do with the lesser level, with the luminary part, not the essence itself, still no, the light does not draw down even the luminary part. In contrast, he says afterwards, the name draws down the essence, the very essence itself. The essence that's associated with the name is the very essence that's completely removed from revelation, removed from Ma'ir even. And despite that, the name is so powerful that's mamshcha etzem, it draws down the very essence, even though that's the essence that's higher even than the luminary.